It is the best time in human history to build a company.
He's a celebrity in Austin, by the way, guys.
That was such a hard time for me that I said, you know what? I'm going to leave healthcare. Imagine I was at the top of my game. You can drop me in any city in the world and I can recruit doctors, syndicate a surgery center, help surgeons make more money, and really develop a very healthy facility.
First of all, did you feel like, oh, I'm going to give up, I can't do this? Like, is there moments that came, like, even for a split second that it came and it's like, this is so difficult, I never want to live this again?
A lot of my upbringing and my passion is to really build global businesses. And that's really how I also want to raise my 4 daughters.
And I love that you mentioned it's really hard to build something great alone and by yourself, and you always need like
impossible,
this type of,
I would say. And so we're here as a community, as a ummah, as Arab, as Muslimin, to do business, with ourselves and with others. A lot of people in our community are some of the best engineers, some of the best doctors, some of the best, you name it. And so my goal with you is that we empower the next generation of entrepreneurs, the next generation of founders. Whether they're Arab, whether they're Egyptian, they're Muslim, they're non-Muslim, it doesn't matter. It's really about coming together as a community. How's your visit in Austin been so far?
It's amazing. It's amazing, honestly, guys. I'm on a high right now from this last podcast and just from this whole project. Like, I love content. I love creating content and seeing and knowing like the type of content, type of value that people are gonna get from it.
Yeah.
So this for me is like a lot more powerful because I have.
Yeah.
Like I'm in it, so I know how like powerful what we're doing is and these conversations are. So it's very, 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 very exciting. And honestly, today, like, I want to start this conversation by first of all, I want to introduce you to people, and
Fantastic.
and you're gonna be the first episode I'm gonna post.
Excellent. Yeah. So no pressure, huh?
Yeah, it's not, because on the last podcast that I just filmed, I said this is the first episode I filmed, but this is the second episode I filmed, but this is the first episode we will post.
Amazing.
In our US visit and coming here.
Fantastic.
And I want to start how I met Ehab first of all, and how this synergy happened, and it's honestly. It's just beautiful. I started like pushing a little bit about like wanting to build an AI community in Egypt, and I want to educate people about AI and things like that.
Yep.
And your wife reached out. She saw it, and it was really cool of her to reach out. And it's really cool, that relationship that you guys have. I know she works with you also at Sigmatic. She's also a beast real estate. She worked in real estate, so it's really cool, that synergy that she thinks about. Absolutely, and she reached out, and for her to introduce us together. First of all, I want to thank you very much, Hoda, for that beautiful intro. So that was really, really, really great. I have jumped on 2 meetings, I think, with Ehab, or 3 meetings with Ehab.
Yep.
And then I'm like, I need to come see you in person. I don't want to wait until you come to Egypt, or you come to the Middle East and we meet there. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to fly out to Austin and I'm going to meet you, and I want to have a conversation, because it was just so inspiring to talk with an Egyptian. So that for me is very important. And that's why it's the first episode I want to post, because it's like we relate a lot more. Like, one of my goals with this podcast and with these episodes is to basically show people that they could relate to someone that comes back from the same background, or at least the same country. So first of all, I want to introduce people and talk to them about your resume and how extensive it is. And we're going to talk about Sigmatic, the company that you just raised a few $1 million for and scale. And it's very exciting. I want to talk about it and talk about AI and everything that's happening with AI. But before that, you had an extensive CV in different things. You're the direct, and I'm going to pull it out right here just to say it properly.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey.
So I have for you, while I'm pulling out your information here, when I reached out to you and we talked a little bit, and I said like I want to create content and things like that.
Yeah.
What's making you put energy in this right now and creating? And we're gonna talk about everything that we want to build together.
Yeah.
And it's happening pretty fast. But talk to me a little bit on why you think your wife reached out to me while I'm a content creator, mainly in Egypt.
Yeah.
You know, that's really heavy. But she reached out to me seeing that I'm doing something in Egypt and knowing. So what was happening there?
Great question. So first of all, I got to give Huda a lot of credit. You know, she's truly, my better half, and we have 4 wonderful daughters together. So, she's a mind reader. And so I think when she saw your content, she saw how passionate you are about empowering people, about pushing entrepreneurs, about really creating the next generation of entrepreneurs. And that's really, embodied my whole life. My entire life was always trying to help other entrepreneurs how to excel, how to grow, how to scale their business until I became a founder myself. Mm-hmm. And so, our visions are aligned, my friend. And, it's awesome that, we had that incredible, couple sessions together, and then you booked a flight and came to Austin. Yeah. Right. And so, I'm very similar to you in that regard, where I just execute, right? And a lot of people talk, very few people execute, and that's really entrepreneurship.
And even with these 2 guys with us, we have Ali and Ali today. They're behind the cameras. I would move the cameras, but I don't want to mess up the shots. But we have Ali and Ali that we're gonna talk, and they're also like way younger than us, and they're also super invested and executing like you're saying. So that's amazing, and you have this energy that's surrounding you, Ehab, and this is one of the biggest things that I want to talk to about, because you're known here in Austin. He's a celebrity in Austin, by the way, guys. He's famous.
That's hilarious. That's funny.
And people like you just got me for the first thing I want to film some podcasts. He got me Jesse, like an amazing founder that I had amazing conversation, and he gave us 2 hours of his time, and he's probably very busy building his company.
Of course,
and he's able, like, why did someone like this agree to come with such ease? And you didn't even say who I was or my platform.
I sent him a text just the other day, by the way, but yeah.
And it's just like that. So I just want to introduce Ehab first, guys. So Ehab has a background in healthcare operations, build surgery centers and develop surgery centers. He actually stayed in Egypt for 2 years, and he has a business in Egypt, and the business is still existent in Egypt, building a surgery centers. He also has a lot of experience in startup and venture ecosystem and leadership, worked in multiple VCs and grew them, was the manager director in Plug and Play for a few years, and built a beautiful healthcare ecosystem in Texas with Plug and Play, and really into the right now into like AI and the healthcare and the operations of healthcare, and really trying to solve a huge problem in healthcare as an operation with AI. Knowing that you're more of a business background, but you're heavily invested in tech, and you're becoming a tech guy by default. So I'm really excited to talk about all this, and to talk about the experience and everything you've learned in the venture ecosystem and all this.
Sure.
So I want to start talking about why what's your mission and what's your mission for Egypt and for entrepreneurs in Egypt? What are we trying to accomplish with this podcast and me coming and us being together? Like, why are you putting energy in this?
Yeah, so look, Egypt, I'm originally from Egypt, right? And so a lot of Egyptians living in the US, they're deeply passionate about not just giving back to our home country, but also really making sure that, Egyptians around the world, and I would say even Muslims and Arab around the world come together and just build massive global businesses together, but also with the world, right? And so we're here as a community, as a ummah, as Arab, as Muslimin, to do business, with ourselves and with others, right? And to really lead AI, lead innovation, lead industries. A lot of people in our community are some of the best engineers, some of the best doctors, some of the best, you name it, top of their game, top, high performers. But sometimes they just don't come together, right? And so the goal of this, this series with you and really the events that we want to do in person in Austin and Dallas, all around the country and really all around the world is to bring our community members together and also to help lead industry, right? I think there's a lot of noise in AI, and I think it's here. It's not coming anymore. It's here, and it's going to be here for a while, and it's going to get many people ahead, and it might put some people behind, right? And so, I think it's really important that people understand it, people leverage it, and frankly, lead it, right? And so, my career, I've done business with, people from all walks of life, right? And I've gotten the opportunity to work from founders from all over the world, right? And what I see consistently is, it doesn't matter if you start in Egypt or if you start in New York or in San Francisco or Austin, you need some level of help, right? Every founder has a weakness, right? And there's no founder on earth that is strong in everything that you need to run a business, right? And so being part of a community is really important. That's where you meet co-founders. That's where you find engineers. That's where you really fill all your gaps as a founder. And that's really the job of a CEO and a founder. And so my goal with you is that we empower the next generation of entrepreneurs, the next generation of founders, whether they're Arab, whether they're Egyptian, they're Muslim, they're non-Muslim, it doesn't matter. It's really about coming together as a community and globally, right? The world is so divided right now. And I think, we really just need to be united, especially as entrepreneurs.
I love that. And I love that you mentioned it's really hard to build something great alone and by yourself, and you always need
impossible, this type of, I would say.
Impossible. But it's funny because we see on social media right now, this solo founder built $1 billion company and blah, blah, blah. And this, do you think it's actually realistic what they're trying to show, or it's just really buzzword? Because you come from the actual, startup world, venture world. You work with companies that invest in 250 companies per year, that they have 30 unicorns under their belt. And I'm sure that was it doesn't get more real than that, right?
Yeah, look, I was very fortunate to work for Plug and Play, one a massive venture firm. You're right. They've invested in 2,500 startups. They have 60 offices around the world, $34 billion unicorns, right? And they're just an amazing ecosystem. They also invested in our company, by the way. So I was managing director for their Austin office. But when I left, they were incredible to also invest in our vision and in our company. And we're proud to be a portfolio company of Plug and Play. They've been an amazing venture partner to us. Basically, I think what's really critical for all founders is even solo founders, right? Is to really, leverage the tools that are available. And right now it's AI, and some few years it might be something else, right? But basically, I think it is the most exciting time in human history to be an entrepreneur.
Let's go.
I think if you leverage the right tools, you can achieve a lot, as an individual founder. For my personal journey, sorry, I'm going to knock over the mic here from all my excitement. My personal journey, I needed co-founders. I needed partners, right? I'm not very technical, right? And so what's pretty amazing is I have a lot of domain expertise, but it's hard for me to build, right? And what's pretty amazing about the technology right now is you don't have to be a technical founder, right? So you can use tools like Riplet. You can create, prototypes. You can show it to customers. You make sure that what you think you have in mind, the customer has very similar ideas in mind, and you can kind of collapse the prototyping, in the software and technology development cycle significantly, just using a lot of really powerful tools. It's not to say that, hey, you can deploy, technology that you spin up, with vibe coding, in an enterprise setting or in a healthcare setting. That's that's far from the truth. So I think to be a solo founder, I think that journey is very challenging. Even if you do leverage these technologies, because when you really build a highly scalable, venture-backed business, you need to build something that's secure, that's enterprise grade. Especially like our company, we're building technology for healthcare. We're building the next, the next operating platform for surgery centers, hospitals and outpatient facilities, and so all the data that we touch has to be secure. It has to be HIPAA compliant, and so I think. Again, for my particular journey, it would be impossible for me as a solo founder that's not very technical to build and scale a company in healthcare, right? And so I needed, technical, team members. I needed to raise millions of dollars, and really surround myself with people that are talented in those spaces. And I've been able to leverage these tools to kind of, again, build prototypes, but then really hardening that prototype and scaling that prototype is really what that capital is for.
What's really interesting from your story, Ehab, and this is what I really want to focus on, because people could, let's say, if someone sees one of the clips, hey, I'm a founder, raised $2 million, $3 million, whatever, $5 million, $10 million for my startup. And millions of dollars are he just raised money and now he's just doing his startup and that's it. That's all I need to do. I just need to go raise money for my idea. But the reality of it, it's been maybe 20 years you're in the healthcare, or more than 20 years.
Yeah, about 15 years. Yeah,
15 years.
You're kind of aging me there.
Yeah, 15 years in the healthcare, and you really took it from the ground. Right?
Yeah,
from building operation centers from the ground. So I want to go back.
Sure.
And people need to know how much time you've been putting in to actually come and doing this cool thing right now that you're doing and that looks sexy online. Yeah. So let's go back from the beginning and how someone can reach this, because I feel like people are so rushed right now. On achieving that and raising money and this. So where did Ehab start to be able to start building a company in AI that is super advanced, hitting a lot of different points?
So look, AI is really powerful. There's no doubt it's transforming a lot of industries very, very fast, especially healthcare. It's just so exciting, all the things that you can do with AI in healthcare, right? But to really solve the massive problems in healthcare, I think for me, I was so fortunate that I was an operator. And so you're right, I started as an operator. And so, my brother and I developed surgery centers together. So my brother's a doctor. And I really started young with him and we built, a surgery center together and we scaled across the country. We also took that.
What did you study to be able to do this? What was your education like? And where did you grow up? This for me is really important to know.
Yeah, so let me back up even further. You're right. So, we immigrated to the U.S. when I was a year old.
Okay.
I grew up in Chicago, and I was always in love and fascinated with business. So I knew from a very young age, a lot of immigrants come to this country. They're either a doctor or an engineer.
Yep.
I knew from a very young age that I would be neither one, and that I was going to be a businessman, an entrepreneur. I've always been building businesses.
Was your father like a business owner, or someone in your family was into business or anything? Because your older brother, and he's quite older than you. He studied medicine. So it's funny that you didn't get impacted by this. And took this route from doctors, because probably that was what your parents wanted you to be at that time. Also, it was like, that's the safe route. That's what will make you money and make sure that you're secure. So did you have something like this in your family, or?
Yeah. No, look, I'm the youngest of 6. And so I think I'm very fortunate that, by the time they got to the 6th child, I had a little bit more leeway. And so for me, I was very fortunate to kind of choose my own path, to study business. And that's what I did. Right. And I did my MBA and really, I love business. Right. And being the youngest of 6 also allowed me the luxury of really learning from my brother. My brother's 20 years older than me. He is a doctor, and so he did have a very, different path than me, and we complemented each other in many ways. And of course, we trusted each other, and we built, several businesses, both in the U.S. and overseas together. But my dad, to answer your question, is very far from a businessman.
Really?
He's a PhD in physics.
MashaAllah.
Was a professor at Cairo University.
Really?
And so came to the U.S. and to provide for his immigrant family, drove a school bus, right? And so that's the story of many immigrants. Grew up, very, very modestly in Chicago. And I was very fortunate to go to a private Islamic school and really be connected to our community and our people. And I think from a very young age, was really raised to be a global citizen. We went back and forth to Egypt. I was very close to the Middle East and Africa, and really that really spawned a lot of what I'm continue to be passionate about today.
There's something I was thinking about, Ehab, like this past week actually, and I feel that Egyptians in general, we grew up with a mentality that we come from a higher class, or we're like richer than we think we are, right? Because we do better than other people. So like living in Egypt's like, yeah, and abuya kaza bi'amil kaza, and we have this like false like self identity that we're like above a little bit, and then we come to a country like the US or Canada, and like we realize that we're like maybe like barely medium class, in terms of a social class. What do you think about that, and how do you think the mindset shifts in what happens and why this is so different?
I mean, look, I'll tell a little bit more about my parents' story to kind of embody what you're describing. So my mother is from Maadi, right? And my dad is from Dumyat. So my dad is from kind of the outskirts of Cairo, kind of the village. And, my mom grew up in Maadi. Her dad was an advisor to Gamal Abdel Nasser. And so you really had these two families coming together. And that's the marriage and the bond between my mother and father, right? You had somebody coming from the farmland or the rural area in Egypt coming to, Cairo, meeting my mother and, kind of, let's say, marrying up, right? And so that's their journey. That's their life, right? And then they came to the U.S. My mother was a doctor in Egypt, came to the U.S. and became a nurse assistant. Wow. And so my dad, drove a school bus, right, to provide for his 6 kids, and so my parents worked really hard. So you're right. A lot of Egyptians living in Egypt, they have this sort of fantasy of like, people come to the U.S. and, live this, lavish, grand life. And the reality is, life is hard, right? You come to the U.S., it's an incredible country with a lot of opportunity. I think it's one of the best countries in the world to live and really grow and build and scale a business. But I also think there's equal opportunity all throughout the Middle East and Africa and Asia. And so, even how I built our company with my partners is that from day one, we're a global company, right? The U.S. is by far going to be one of the biggest markets for us. But I still, transact and do business in the Middle East and Africa. It's still going to be a big market for us. So a lot of my upbringing and my passion is to really build the global businesses. And that's really how I also want to raise my 4 daughters. Give them a little bit of, what I learned when I was growing up and a little bit of my parents' journey, a little bit of my journey, but also allow them to build their own path. I think that's super critical.
What did you study? And what did you study and how did you get into business as a beginning? Because you kind of like juggled between both, right? Having your own business in the beginning, doing your own thing, working and really reaching levels at the jobs that you get and moving really fast up the ladder, and then switching back into having your own business. It's really interesting for me, this journey, and it's
So I've always been entrepreneur. Even from a very, very young age. And so when I went out and I got my first job and I went out into the career world, I started working. Actually, my first job was really with my brother. So he was actually, I was, managing his office. It was a tiny little clinic in Columbia, South Carolina. So we really grew that business. And then I left that job and went and got, a sales job actually at a factory in South Carolina. And that factory made electric vehicles. And they assigned me to be their international, sales guy, right? And so it was a pretty fascinating opportunity in Greenville, South Carolina.
What was sales like back in that? Like, when was that? Like, we're talking about like 2000.
I was 24. I'm 37 now. Yeah. And so it was an amazing job. I got a chance to basically travel the world and sell product from this factory in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And that particular factory in South Carolina was owned by a Chinese entrepreneurs that came to the U.S., built a factory in South Carolina, and majority of their sales were based in the U.S., but they wanted to expand their business and sell globally. So they sent me to Saudi Arabia, to Kuwait, to Qatar, to Egypt, to Bahrain, even Cuba. Wow. I went to Asia. And so I would travel the world and I would open distribution channels and really sell their product. And I would manage that distributor. And so that really taught me international business development. And then I went from there back into healthcare.
That's something that's really hard to learn, like in university, or it's like, it has to be like, I feel like you've learned more in this job in anything in more than university or anything from just traveling.
Absolutely. 100%. I recommend really anybody starting their career that, really start anywhere and just work your way up, right? And so in that particular job, I was the youngest salesperson that they brought on, right? And within a year, because I worked really hard, I built a sales pipeline, I was closing sales, I became one of the highest performers there, right? And some of the other people in similar roles at that particular company were 2 or 3 times my age. And so,
you would exceed, yeah. You would bypass them, you would pass them in terms of.
Yeah. And it's just, I had a lot of energy. I was really pushing hard. And so, the big takeaway of that, really kind of that early stage, that first job I had was, just be a really high performer. It doesn't matter what your age is, right? Obviously in that time, I didn't have a ton of experience, but that was never a barrier for me. I would go out and teach myself. I would consume as much knowledge as I could. And I had mentors. I would learn from others that really took the time to teach me. And so that's why at my stage of my career, I'm really passionate about kind of giving back and being that mentor.
At that stage when you were traveling, what did you feel was the best way to connecting with people, especially from different cultures, different things?
Yeah.
Were you the same person with every single person, or there were different ways, and how would you adapt when meeting different people from different cultures? Because they have to like you if you want to sell to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think being a storyteller, right? And that's so critical to being an entrepreneur. And storytelling is a way to build trust. It's a way to create value, and it's a way to really get yourself ahead in life, but also really push others forward. And that's since the beginning of man, right? And so I think that's so critical to, I wouldn't even call it sales. It's really building relationships. But sometimes even more important than storytelling is listening. So when I meet somebody new, let's say it's a new customer, new prospect, I really try and get to understand who they are and what their goals are and their initiatives are, right?
So it's not even about your product. Like your product is not what comes first. It's really listening to the person in front of you.
Exactly. And that's really sales 101, right? And so you don't sell the product, you really build a relationship. And the business can follow, right? And so sometimes that's really hard to understand when you're young and you're just like, selling the product. And
Because you're focused on the outcome is money. That's what you're focused on.
Yeah.
Instead of changing your KPI, and your KPI is like building a network and a good relationship. So yeah.
Exactly, correct. And really, when you flip that equation and you create value, all of a sudden now you're being led into, rooms that you would have never imagined that you can get into. You're sitting at the table, right? So when you meet an executive, right, a C-level, you have to solve their problem, right? Their time is so valuable. And, your product could do that for them, but that's not what you're selling. You're not selling your product, right? It's first you have to build a relationship. You have to really get to know the challenges that CEO or that company is facing. And you have to, get yourself in the room. And that takes really, building relationship. And sometimes you don't present your product until like the third or fourth, setting, right? So there's this phase of building trust. And sometimes you build trust by just doing things for that executive, that CEO, or that C-level, or that large enterprise account that you want to, land, right? It could be, flying them out to speak at an event. It could be like, there's so many things that you can do to build relationships. And that's so critical. And that's what I've spent the past 15 years doing. I've done that, both in my first jobs, but also in healthcare. And so I've been very fortunate to have an incredible network, right? And then obviously working at, organizations like Plug and Play, where you get exposure and you're leading events, you're hosting, 40, 50 events a year. You just meet amazing founders, and learning from those founders, listening to those founders, understanding their journey, understanding their struggles, how they overcame their journey, really just taught me a lot.
Love it. So after that job, what was the first venture that was a little bit more serious and had higher stakes for you?
Yeah. So after that amazing job where I traveled the world, at that time, I basically was doing my MBA. So earlier, obviously, I had finished my undergrad in business, and then while I had that job, I was doing my MBA. And so at that time, my brother was actually starting his first surgery center.
Okay.
And he's a physician, brilliant, clinical operator. And he called me. He's like, Ehab, I really need your help. He knew that I was an entrepreneur at heart, and I was wrapping up my MBA. And so I said, okay, let's jump in together. Let's, grow your business and scale it together. And so we decided to partner up. And I came and I, developed his first surgery center with him.
Really?
And then we scaled across the country. So really what I really, understood is that in order to succeed in healthcare, you really have to empower the physicians and the surgeons to own more of the value chain. In other words, you have to help them grow and scale their business. And so in the healthcare world, the business operations is such a heavy burden on doctors and surgeons or administrators, not necessarily because they're not trained in business. Some physicians and surgeons are amazing entrepreneurs, but because they're naturally healing humans, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of them became a doctor because they care about healing patients, right? And so, it's just second nature to them, where the business side becomes oftentimes something that's, something secondarily to them, right?
Yeah. When I think about it really fast, I don't know why it came to my head. I'm like, actors don't go and negotiate their own deals. They have their agent, they just go and they focus on their art. They focus on being the best actor at that time. For sure, they do other ventures after and so on and so forth, but really, they really focus on their art. So when I think about surgeons, they're also artists.
Exactly.
And they should be focusing on their art. So I totally agree with that, for sure. Yeah. So how was it to own your own? At this point, this is your own business, you and your brother.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want to talk about the relationship with you and your brother, because a lot of people have mixed feelings about working with family, right?
Yeah.
Especially he's an older brother. He could be a little bit of a bully, like, yo, this is what you should do. Like, this is, so how was that relationship? And And especially, I want to talk about communication. How is the line of communication between you guys?
Yeah, really great question. So in the beginning, I was very much the younger brother.
Yeah.
Right. So it was very much like, I need this done. Right. And I would run and go figure it out. And so over time, I became the one that was, finding the facility, recruiting the surgeons, getting the staff up, trained, ordering all the equipment, getting the business really stabilized. And so I did this multiple times, right? And so when you develop a surgery center, there's multiple things that you have to do. And so I got it down to like a science, right? In 6.5 years, I developed, surgery centers all across the US. I actually went, like you said, I went to Egypt and I launched a surgery center. I hired all the staff, bought out all the equipment, got the facility up and running, got it to break even, and then I would just go to the next.
Wow.
And so, after doing it so many times, I really mastered it. I mastered all the back office, the front office. I wore all the hats, right? I just kind of rolled up my sleeves and learned on the fly. And so at that young age, you're learning so fast and you have a lot of energy. And frankly, because I'm not a doctor and I'm not seeing patients, I had more time than my brother, right? So my brother and I were building the business together, but, he's seeing 20, 30, 40, 50 patients, on any average day. And then he's doing also, procedures, on days of surgery. And so he's just so busy, right? He's just, running the clinical side, right? And so it was just a perfect marriage, right? And so of skill set, right? And so he trusted me, I trusted him. And, there were some challenges as a family doing business, but the trust was so strong, we were able to overcome a lot of those challenges. Now, the flip side of that is as the business grew and we scaled all around the world, we also are victims of embezzlement. And so I'm going to tell you a personal story. There's an individual that, my brother hired, and this individual embezzled millions of dollars, from our core businesses. And, that was the first time that I really began to think that, hey, I'm the business guy. And, my brother is so busy on the clinical side. I didn't even fathom the amount of access that my brother, as a trusting physician, gave this individual, right? This individual essentially worked for my brother, was almost kind of my brother's right-hand man. And so I was focused on growing and scaling the business. I was traveling, developing all these surgery centers.
Yep.
And my brother had given access to this individual. Basically he factored our accounts receivable. Yep. and sold the accounts receivable at a discounted cash value. And we lost millions of dollars. Right. And so I uncovered that embezzlement. Right. After uncovering that embezzlement, within a week I had to lay off, 32 staff. We kind of, it was such a surreal time in my life because you go from like this growth business mindset, you're at the top of your career. We were well on our way to build, surgery centers all around the world for like, hundreds of millions of dollars exit. Right. And so I was laser focused on the exit. I was laser focused on building a portfolio of real estate, building a portfolio of operating entities. And so when you're in that business growth mode and you don't have the right, financial controls and the proper budgeting and forecasting in place, which is what I learned. That's what you learn in the MBA is, controls, financial budgeting, forecasting, right? And so when I would talk to my brother about these concepts, I realized there was such a disconnect between how I see and operate business. And I realized years later that, we just have different training, right? He's trained to be a doctor. I'm trained to be a businessman. And, the lack of that, some of those financial controls being in place, which I take, a lot of responsibility for, but the lack of those controls being in place, really opened the door for this embezzlement to happen. And so imagine going from kind of this growth mindset to like crisis mode, right? And so you
and you're probably not like investing in yourself. You're investing everything back in the business.
Exactly.
You're going all out. You're like, I'm going to reach, like, you're probably made like, you're like, no, I'm going to the hundreds of millions of dollars. I completely understand that. And I feel that for sure. It's really difficult. How did you feel at that point in time? Did you feel like, first of all, did you feel like, oh, I'm going to give up, I can't do this? Like, is there moments that came, like, even for a split second that it came and it's like, this is so difficult, I never want to live this again? Or did it give you like a boost of like, yo, you know what? This is never going to happen to me again, and I'm going to fix this problem, I'm going to get out of it. Like,
it's really a combination of everything you said. So that was such a hard time for me that I said, you know what, I'm going to leave healthcare. Imagine I was at the top of my game. You can drop me in any city in the world and I can recruit doctors, syndicate a surgery center, help surgeons make more money, and really develop a very healthy facility. And I really mastered it. I spent years doing that and I loved it. I loved, working with a physician, taking him out of a hospital where he's making, a salary, and then opening a surgery center down the road, and now all of a sudden he's making 2 or 3 times, and he owns the real estate. And so, just really creating this wealth for these physician partners. And I loved it, right? And so when the embezzlement happened, it was such a shock to my system. I said, you know what? I'm still young. I think I'm going to leave healthcare, right? Even though I mastered it, right? I was an operator. I got it down to a science. And that was a time I'll never forget. I called my friend Sofiane, and Sofiane, I give you a lot of credit. So Sofiane is a good friend of mine. He's a genius, finance guy. He's actually our fractional CFO as well at Sigmatic. And I asked him, I was like, look, I want to leave healthcare. What do you suggest? And he said to me, I'll never forget, he said, Ehab, you should look into tech and venture, right? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, Ehab, there's like 26-year-old kids making hundreds of millions of dollars building tech. And so that was such an interesting concept for me, because now, remember, I built a really heavy operating business.
Yeah.
And
brick and mortar, like real estate.
Exactly.
Like relationships, machines, operations.
Yeah, and when you build a big brick and mortar operations business and you try and scale it, the bigger it gets, the more people you need. And so the concept of scale is much harder in that sort of setting.
Oh yeah.
And so I knew nothing about tech. So I applied to, hundreds of jobs all around the world. I said, okay, I'm leaving healthcare. I made that decision. That's how hard this life event was.
How long did it take you to make that decision of like, I'm leaving this? And you talk to your friend and it's like, okay, I'm applying. Like how long did this decision take, and what was like, okay, I'm going to do this?
Obviously it was a big decision for my wife and I, at this point.
Oh, you were married. Okay.
Oh yeah. We had 4 kids. We already had 4 kids by then.
Okay.
And so it was a big decision. Right. And so, I went to my better half, Huda, and we made the decision together. So we sold our house in Michigan. We left. We said, okay, we're just going to, change industries. And that's where I got my first venture job. And I started to learn about tech. And so I became vice president at Capital Factory, which is an Austin-based venture firm.
Yeah, I was there yesterday. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, amazing ecosystem.
16th floor is amazing. I recommend it. They push you to the 5th floor, but Paige hooked me up and put me on the 16th floor. So thank you, Paige.
Yeah, and I got to give Capital Factory a lot of credit. They really taught me, the venture game. So really, it's just.
So what is the venture game? So what is what's that? I have no idea what the venture game means. So can you explain to us a little bit?
And maybe me calling it a game is a bit controversial, but I treat the venture world as a game, right? In the sense that, you in order to build a venture-backed business, it has to be a highly scalable, business that you can take, across the nation or even globally. And it's a business that can grow to, several multiples higher than maybe a traditional operating business. And sometimes to reach those multiples, you have to, not sometimes, but all the times, right? To reach those multiples, you have to reach certain milestones to raise more and more capital, right? A lot of founders try and do it without raising capital, and I respect that journey. And so, that could be more of an organic sort of, business, and venture is not for everybody. That's why I call it a game, right? It's a game because you have to learn the rules of how investors think, and you have to learn the rules of raising capital, right? And if you understand those rules and you have those frameworks, you can play the game really well. And you could build a highly scalable business, through raising venture capital, or you can build it organic. And there's a big debate now with AI and how powerful it is to potentially grow organic business. But, in my particular journey, we were venture backed, and I raised, from Plug and Play and Transform VC and even most recently Mubadala from UAE has been an amazing venture partner for us. And I've decided to really kind of go the venture route. And I think for our particular business, which is so impactful, both in the U.S. and globally, that is really the right path for us. But it's a tough journey, right? And so if you don't understand the rules of the game, you could slip up.
I feel that a lot of people don't understand it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that this is the only way, and they're trying to go that route without really understanding, even though they could go to the organic way that you're talking about. And it could be a lot more, I would say they would make a lot more money, but they would be a lot happier. And I think that's a big factor that people don't think about.
Yeah, look, and I think you could be happy both ways. I think I just mentored 2 founders yesterday.
Nice.
And very early stage, and they're thinking about raising capital and they don't know how to do it. And so venture is not it's not as mysterious. It's not this black box like people think, right? It's about building relationships. It's almost like what we talked about with sales, right? If you want to go out and raise capital from VCs or from investors, you have to be a storyteller and you have to build relationships, right? Like when you're going to raise capital, you basically have to sell your idea, your company, right? And so you can't, again, it goes back to what we talked about in the beginning. You can't just go sell and say, hey, I want to collect checks, right? You have to build the investor relationship. You have to build a persona, build a following, right? And so that's what I really tried hard in the venture world to kind of build my name. And for me, I worked at Capital Factory and then I became managing director at Plug and Play. And I really tried to understand sort of what I would call the underbelly of the venture game and understand the rules of it before I was comfortable enough to go out on my own as a founder and go raise capital and really try my journey and kind of playing the game. So
was this the plan from the beginning when you were applying, or this plan got realized organically while just going through your journey?
I've always been an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
So I knew eventually that I would, build, my company or many companies, right? And so it was the plan in the sense that I wanted to get into venture to understand it. It wasn't immediate, or it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to go get a job at Capital Factory or Plug and Play and go launch my company. But, I got a chance to frankly meet hundreds and hundreds of amazing founders across all industries, right? Across health tech, across manufacturing, across warehousing, you name it. And that's really the power of Plug and Play. So Plug and Play has 60 offices around the world. You get to travel, you meet amazing founders, all different walks of life. And these are innovators that are pushing these industries forward. And so I naturally, just meeting these amazing high performers, I caught the entrepreneurial bug again, right? And I was like, So for me, the culmination of the company I'm building, which is Sigmatic, which is all about, AI operations in healthcare, all on the operation side. So we don't do much on the clinical side. It's really all the tools and the technology that we built is designed to really help surgeons and physicians and administrators grow and scale their surgery center or their outpatient facility with far less, administrative burden, right? And so we built really powerful, tools that frankly work and do that. And, the culmination of, all of my experiences was packaged into technology. So instead of me going out to start multiple surgery centers, really I worked with my co-founders and my partners to take all that knowledge and put it into an AI native operating platform that we just, give to doctors and surgeons or anybody else that's looking to grow and scale their surgery center. So, it kind of took all my experiences and put it into tech.
It's subhanAllah, like going back when this massive drop in your life happened, you wouldn't imagine that this would be the outcome a few years later of doing it and going. And how was it mentally and emotionally while you're working in venture and you're far away from healthcare? Did you feel like you killed a part of you? Did it always come back and you're like, I miss it? Did you feel like an outsider in the venture world?
One thing I love about Plug and Play, they have a very strong healthcare vertical. So I was always thrust in the latest, greatest technology in healthcare. And, Plug and Play has an amazing summit. They do it about every 6 months. It has about 4,000 people that fly into the summit in San Francisco.
Nice.
And you get to meet hundreds of entrepreneurs. You get to see just the latest technologies, both in healthcare and manufacturing and all of these industries. They have 23 different verticals. So first of all, I highly recommend people go to the Plug and Play Summit. It's done really well. I think they do it every May, every November. And I was just constantly exposed to that, and I was in between founders and large corporates. So Plug and Play has such an amazing business model where, they have over 600 corporate partners, multi-billion-dollar, large enterprise clients that want to work with innovative technology companies or startups, right? The people really pushing their industry forward, whether it's in healthcare. And so imagine, I'm right in the middle, right? I get to work with CTOs and CIOs of large enterprise, and then right between the innovators. And so I learned from both sides, right? And so I learned not just, operations in my career in healthcare, but then I started learning, how to solve these, healthcare technology problems at scale, right? And so, even the way that I built Sigmatic is a culmination of multiple proven technologies. Like we've taken technology from manufacturing, technology, computer vision technology from autonomous vehicles. We've taken technology from warehousing, from robotics, right? And we've combined it into Sigmatic, which is an AI native operating platform for hospitals and surgery centers. So it's this concept of taking proven technologies from other industries and then applying it in a setting like healthcare and solving real administrative, problems and challenges. We do things like we optimize block time, and we monitor what's happening in the OR. We monitor supply chain. All of these things we do automated, and so we minimize the human interaction and really, in healthcare, there's a lot of humans typing on keyboards into legacy systems. And then those legacy systems are disconnected. And so if you go into any surgery center or any hospital, they might have 4 or 5 legacy systems. And the data in those legacy systems is humans typing it in. And so that entire administrative system, we really kind of re-architected. And so the way that I thought about building Sigmatic was like, look, if I was going to build the best, most advanced surgery center in the world with the latest technologies, how do I minimize this? How do I minimize nurses and doctors and staff entering data on legacy systems? And that's what we built. So we built technology that, everything from ambient listening to computer vision to, automatically understanding your purchase orders, automatically understanding your, what's happening in your bank account, right? So even the embezzlement taught me a lot, which is
for sure
having lack of transparency for your surgeon partners, for your investors, for, basically not understanding what's happening from your business every second, leads to many, many issues, not just operational issues, but also, can open the door for things like embezzlement to happen. So we designed Sigmatic to automatically monitor all of these things and to not just surface the data, but also act upon it. So if you have low inventory, to do a critical, surgery that you're doing on a regular basis, we have, systems that can automatically reorder, right? When it hits a certain threshold. So these are administrative things that humans really shouldn't be wasting their time. A nurse that's already busy taking care of patients or, assisting the surgeon in the operating room shouldn't be stressed out about, supplies for the next case, right?
No. Do you think Ehab, if you haven't gone into like the venture, because you've built an amazing ecosystem with Plug and Play. You've built like a triangle, and you had a lot of event into healthcare. It was called the healthcare. It's an initiative you had. What was it called with Plug and Play? You had an initiative that was.
Yeah, so Plug and Play has a health tech accelerator.
Yeah, with the health and you were in charge of it, right? Like with a lot of the events and the people and the companies and all that. So you had a lot of visibility on what was going on in the innovation side of healthcare, right? Do you feel like you would have had that experience, or you would have had that way of thinking if you weren't into that ecosystem and you were just in the operation system, like you were building?
Yeah, great question. And look, I guess my advice to anybody, even somebody like you said that's stuck in operations, right? Yeah. So if you're an operator, if you're an administrator, even if you're a surgeon, again, venture is not this black box. It's not this like mysterious thing that you can't get exposed to. Yes, I was in the underbelly of it. Like, in other words, I worked for a venture firm, but you can do that just by going to events. So I encourage people to go to Plug and Play's events. I encourage people to go to your local meetup. Get every city at this point in the world almost has a venture community, and they do events, they do meetups. If you're in New York, the venture community is very strong. If you're in Boston, the venture community is very strong. If you're in San Francisco, the venture community is very strong. If you're in Austin, the venture community is very strong. So even if you're a surgeon, if you're a doctor, if you're an administrator, if you're an operator, go to these events, network, meet people. You'll meet a co-founder. You might meet an engineer. You might meet somebody that's really passionate about solving the many vast problems in healthcare, right? And so you have to get yourself out there. You have to find other people that are equally, if not more passionate about tackling these problems. And again, it's the most exciting time in the history of mankind to build a company, because now you can build it with far less people. Technology is so powerful. AI and all the models that are out there are just, they're advancing basically every day almost. And so if you have even a small team, or 2 or 3 co-founders, you could make huge advancements in industry. And frankly, it might take you 50 or 100 people, 5-10 years ago to achieve what you can achieve.
And the budget is completely different. You probably had to raise, 20 times what you've raised to build, like how you were building a Sigmatic like a few years ago,
Exactly. And the technologies we combined into one platform, like, wouldn't be possible 4 or 5 years ago. We combined multiple technologies into one system. And you're right.
Who do you think has more of an advantage now, and who you think can win? Let's say, for example, in exactly what you are, someone that has a tech background, like, and like for me, if I'm a doctor and if I'm going to buy a system and I have 2 options in front of me, from a tech guy buying this tech system to optimize my surgery center, or someone that was an operations for and built a surgery center across all things and hired high-level tech people with his leadership, I feel like I would trust someone that knows the nitty-gritty of a business that's so heavy into operations that it would be hard to just someone being a tech and thinking and you know, like, oh, this is how I could solve this problem. But there's things that are hidden. Can you talk to us a little bit about this? Is this the best opportunity for operators to become founders of tech companies and rebuild companies that already exist?
I think it's definitely much easier for what I would call domain experts or operators, as you call them, to build technology companies. It's the easiest time in history for domain experts. So, you know, I know the surgery center business backwards and forwards, and I know healthcare operations backwards and forwards. And my co-founder also spent 9 years at HCA, Mitch Laird. And Mitch is a brilliant operator. And so we co-founded the company. We're both not technical. And so I think we have huge advantages over, you know, other companies because we know we don't have to spend time guessing what the customer needs. We know what the biggest operational challenges are, and we know how to save our customers, how to save them money, and how to make them more money. And so we know what technology to build, and we've already built it, right? And so, and we have the network to sell it and really get it out there. So it's an exciting time, what I would say, for domain experts to build tech. And I'm not discounting technical founders. I think, you know, technical founders just have a different journey, right? And so whether you're a non-technical founder or a technical founder, I still think you need both sides to build a highly scalable business. So in other words, when my co-founder and I came together as non-technical founders, we still built a very strong technical team, right? Even though it was easier for us to take the ideas out of our head and put it into Riplet and prototype it, that prototype that we built needs to be highly scalable, needs to be secure, needs to be HIPAA compliant. And that's where it's very critical to have technical expertise. So I still think that you need, you know, non-technical founders still need domain experts, and domain experts need, you know, technical founders. And I think the team now is much smaller than it had to be before. You know, for us to achieve what we've achieved, I think we would have needed a lot more technical team. And so the advantage I think companies have now is you don't need a huge technical team. You do need to, you know, watch your spend in terms of tokens and how you leverage AI. And you should deploy AI where it's taking away steps for humans. And I think even us, you know, and I think a lot of companies are making this mistake. Even us early on, we kind of sprinkled AI on everything, and we went out and we had, you know, failures in deployments, you know, with some of our early deployments, because you really can't, like, you know, AI is still data science, and data science still relies on, you know, capturing clean data and structuring data. And so, you know, again, that's why it was really critical for us to go away from having humans typing in unclean data on legacy systems and inventing new ways to collect data automatically. And so that was a game changer for us. When we collected data automatically, we cleaned it and structured it, and then we applied sort of the latest AI models on top of that. You know, we provided enormous value to our customers, right? And there's a lot of, you read about it every day, there's a lot of failures in deploying AI because the data is not clean. You know, there's lack of, like you said, lack of domain expertise, lack of operational expertise. And so we're very fortunate to, you know, to have really built a business that comes from domain experts, and we understand the challenges in healthcare. But also we're very fortunate to have built basically a data model that is proprietary to us, that cleans and structures the data so that AI can actually work and provide value to our customers. And that's such a critical thing for founders to understand.
I love it. What would be your what was the biggest challenge for you as a non-technical founder? Like, what were the things that, like, if any domain expert right now is going out and building, what are the things that you tell him, like?
I think for me, the software development, the CI/CD process, and the design and development prototyping process, I had to learn it, right? When you develop tech, you have to design it, prototype it, test it, iterate on it, and deploy it. If it fails, you gotta, basically have that feedback loop, and you gotta do that as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. And so the hardest thing for me was finding technical partners and team members that can help me do that cycle as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. So me as a non-technical founder, I didn't know that cycle, so I had to learn it. Once I learned it, and I learned it through my technical partners and team members, right? And so that was a big challenge for me, right? It's just not how my brain is wired. I'm not an engineer, I'm not a technical person, and so kind of going back now, I would have wished that I took some engineering courses, right? And so my personality is I devour information and data, and I love to learn everything and anything about not just my business, but I just love to learn. And so, I think if you're a non-technical founder, you still need to understand how AI works. You need to understand the dangers of AI and the strengths of AI, and where to deploy it and where not to deploy it. Mm-hmm. And if you're a domain expert deploying AI, you have an advantage in the sense that you're not creating technology that the end user won't use, right? In other words, a lot of highly technical founders are really good at building amazing technology, and then they hand it over to the customer and they don't want it, right? And so if you're a domain expert, it's kind of the opposite, right? You know what the problems are. It might take you longer to build the tech, and that's okay. But once it's built, you have a lot more adoption. Yep. Because the end user will use it, they'll receive instant value, or it might take time for them to capture that value. And
do you feel that's actually happened? Because you're deploying your technology through operation centers like across the US and even have projects to deploy it with like outside globally. Yep. Do you feel that what you're saying is true? Like, because it's on the ground now. Can you give us a little on ground what is it looking like?
Yeah, so I mean, we've fully commercialized. So we raised a healthy pre-seed, and we used that initial pre-seed money to really build an amazing product. And so the company is about 2 years old now. It took us about a year and a half, a little bit over a year and a half, to build that initial sort of product and that core product line, and even harden it. So hardening it means that we deployed it, we tested it, and it's such at a highly scalable point right now, and it's the main thing the team is focused on is sales. So we're fully commercialized. So I guess kind of the stages of a company is like, a lot of times in pre-seed, you're still at ideation. And, our advantage, because again, we're operators, we were already ideating before we kind of went out and raised that initial pre-seed. And so we used that initial capital so efficiently, and we built an amazing product. And we just got SOC 2 compliant, which is a big deal, in healthcare, to be secure, of course. And that just happened, right? And so we literally like fully commercialized, as of May, right? So before May of 2026, we were just, building, iterating, and deploying. And so it's amazing now to see this really powerful technology in the hands of owner-operators and surgeons and administrators, really lowering their cost to operate. We now provide the best-in-class case costing. So what that means is, like, when you're operating a surgery center, roughly 25% of your cost is in supplies. And so for you to do surgery, you need to manage the cost of your supplies. You need to know what surgeon X is using versus surgeon Y. Can you kind of bring those two surgeons to agree to use the same or relatively the same sort of, supply or recipe for a surgery? And that's very challenging to do without data. And so we built a really powerful, system that allows you to do case costing in real time. And so it allows you, if you have 10 surgeons working at the same facility, we can normalize their costs. We can get them all to agree, because what's amazing about surgery centers and a lot of these outpatient facilities, the surgeons are not employees, they're partners. And so when surgeon X is using a very expensive, supply or implant, and surgeon Y has a different implant, right? And you kind of do that over time, you'll notice that, one surgeon is doing the same exact procedure at a much higher cost. And so our system is able to identify that and provide you those savings. Wow. Again, using the power of AI with very little humans typing things in, right? And so we built a proprietary system that provides the best in class case costing. And we ingest all of your financials, so we know what your margin is per case. And we monitor everything with different sensors and ambient listening throughout the facility. So we know what's happening throughout the facility, throughout the day. And if you track that over 30, 60, 90 days, you can create, what we call SOPs, or standard operating procedures. And you can continuously improve the flow of the facility. So we can optimize your physical operations throughout the facility. We can lower your operating costs with optimizing your supply chain costs. But also we open up new blocks on your schedule so that you can maybe bring in new surgeons, or that you can restructure your schedule to make more money, right? Because when you operate an outpatient surgery center, you really want to optimize your time in the OR, and we built a system to allow you to do that.
That's just listening to you saying these things, Ehab, what comes to my mind, just thinking as a regular person, it's not that you're going to take over jobs or cancel jobs. I feel that you're actually going to help a lot more people have surgery at a lower cost.
Exactly.
You're going to help a lot more offices make a lot more money and be a lot more efficient, and scale faster and hire more people and create more jobs. So I feel like on the news and everywhere is jobs are getting cut, everything. But I feel like productivity and revenue is going to increase so much that they have to hire people.
Exactly.
More and more people.
On. Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about this, and where do you see the future of hiring? What do you the more that you push this, let's say you push this for 2 years, what do you think is, do you think it's going to hire more? Do you think you're taking over jobs? Because from what I'm hearing from you, you're actually going to help create more jobs.
100%. I mean, the story of surgery centers and outpatient facilities, which happened in the US, is the story of entrepreneurship that created more jobs, right? And what that means is, a lot of doctors and surgeons were employed at hospitals. And a hospital is a massive 200,000 square foot facility, right? And surgeons would be employed at this hospital, and for the first time ever, they realized instead of, being employed at this large 200,000 square foot hospital, they can leave the hospital, open maybe down the road a small 10,000 square foot box. And that's what a surgery center is.
Wow.
So the way that I think of a surgery center, it's really almost, if you build it correctly, it can be a hospital without walls. In the sense that it's a small 10,000 square foot facility. You could have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 surgeon partners. And now you own the facility, the actual real estate, but you also have 2 or 3 other partners, and you partake in the facility fee. So instead of being an employee, you now, as a physician, you can be an entrepreneur, right? And it's much easier to manage and operate a 10,000 or 8,000 square foot facility than a massive 200,000 square foot hospital. Yeah. Much higher margins. more, you can take better care of not only your patients and provide them lower cost of care, but you can take really good care of your staff and your employees, right? And a lot of staff don't want to work in the hospital. They want to work in an outpatient facility. And that is that's how I view a surgery center.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I can imagine like videos of like on Instagram, like if we compare it to how people are pitching entrepreneurship and courses and things like that, I can imagine just like, are you a surgeon? Are you tired of like long hours at the hospital and you want to become an entrepreneur?
Exactly.
It's like you're selling the dream for surgeons and things like
exactly.
It's kind of crazy how it's entrepreneurship is changing and even being facilitated to people that are domain experts and like doctors and things like that.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's really, really, really cool.
Yeah. And it lowers the cost of healthcare, right? So let's take one procedure as an example. So a knee replacement in a hospital could be as much as $50,000. In a surgery center, it could be 15, right? 15. So a lot of these, outpatient facilities, they're much lower in cost, to actually do the same exact procedure that you would receive at a hospital with the same quality, if not higher, right? In my opinion, a lot of the outpatient facilities are even higher quality because now the surgeon owns the facility. They really care about their name and reputation. So, it's not to say that they don't provide high quality service at hospitals, but when you have a surgeon that's taking the risk of doing surgery in an outpatient facility, they really care about the quality and the patient care.
Yep.
As an owner operator of a business. And so in my opinion, they provide really quality alternative to, maybe much higher cost, inpatient care.
And something that's really interesting, Ehab, about your company and that I want to talk about, and it's actually, I would say, pretty impressive and cool and gangster, that you're not asking people to pay you upfront or pay you massive. You're actually asking for equity for 10% equity. I don't know if I could say that or not. I could remove it in the edit if it's I have insider info, guys. But that's powerful because it's proof. Like if you're coming to me and it's like, listen, I'm going to be your partner for 3 years and you have to buy me out in 3 years because you're going to be doing so well and your revenue is going to increase. That actually gives me so much confidence. For me, it's more like it's as if I'm trying like a risk-free product that is fully refundable 100%. So can you speak to me about like where is this confidence coming from, and how do you think this will impact the way that you grow?
Yeah, look, our technology works. It works because it's built by domain experts, and it's built to really be used by anybody. It's really easy to use and it's easy to deploy. It's easy to get up and running, and we designed it and engineered it that way. So number one, our technology works, and we have 3 modes of working with a customer, a surgery center, outpatient facility. The first is a simple subscription model. So you can pay us just an annual low-cost subscription fee, and we will be a technology partner to you. We'll provide you with the latest technology. We'll help you operate your facility through our technology platform. The second model is we become almost like a tech-enabled MSO, which just means that we could take equity in your facility, and we actually started this model internationally because the concept of a surgery center is relatively new to the Middle East and Africa.
Okay.
And it's pretty mature in the US. So in the US, you have about 11,000 surgery centers. In the Middle East, even though it's the same population, about 300 million people in the Middle East and North Africa, there's far less number of surgery centers, right? And surgery centers, again, provide a path of entrepreneurship to surgeons. They provide lower cost of care, and they provide access to care for large populations. So imagine, a rural city in Egypt, instead of building a large 200,000 square foot hospital, they can build a surgery center, have 4 or 5 surgeons as partners, And now that facility can service a huge sort of rural geographic area that didn't have access to a large hospital, right? And so in those models, we basically, instead of just being a software partner, we can take equity, right, in those facilities, and we operate the facility, and we forward deploy an engineer, and we get the facility up and running, or we can even have an existing facility that we optimize, and we're so confident in our technology and our capability and our domain expertise that we truly become a partner. But again, we believe so much in empowering the surgeons and empowering the physicians and the local ecosystem that we want you to buy us out, right? So we have the option for customers to buy us out, at year 3. So, it's kind of not the private equity model. So if you look at the US, a lot of surgeons and surgery centers sell big portions of their surgery center to private equity or to large national, management groups. And, the facility changes its dynamics when a big portion of the facility is sold to like a third party, and the surgeons take less equity. And so we believe that the best formula is for surgeons and owner operators to own their business, right? And so that's why we like to get in and get out. Right? We don't want to be a long-term partner. We want to help you get the facility optimized, and then you buy us out. So that's the second mode, is we could become an equity partner. The third mode is we can just simply charge management fees. Yeah. And so in that scenario, again, we forward deploy an engineer. We help you, operate the facility, but we don't own equity. So we have 3 modes of engagement. Simple software subscription. We can become an equity partner, or we can just take management fees and we help you, operate the facility.
Love it. I also think it's a critical time for operations center now, because I feel like if they're not adapting this technology and they're late, they're gonna get crushed from someone that's like have 50% savings or 100% savings and like 1,000% I think even more than 1,000% optimization and in terms of their operations, like everything, expenses, revenue, hiring, you can know exactly what each person is doing at that point and saving time. Yeah. So I have 2 questions, right? So I feel that some people are gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna go and figure that out. I'm gonna go and spend a lot of money, and they can go do that because they could, they think that they could hire some people and coding is cheap. They could do that. What is dangerous about this? Yep. Right? And people that they know AI is there, but they think it's too far and it's too expensive. And they're just like, what, I'm old school. And there's a lot of doctors that are, they don't want to break their head and things like that. And then people, I guess we don't need to talk about people that adapt the technology and say, like, we already talked about how much we're doing, Yeah. I know we have another hour if we want. Yeah. So yeah, can you tell me about the dangers of trying to do it themselves? And
yeah, I mean, it all ties to time.
Yeah.
Right. Whether you're a surgeon that is passionate about technology, or whether you're
and this question Ehab really applies to any business, right?
Exactly.
Like we're talking about because we're talking about healthcare and everything, but it really applies to anything. And there's going to be solutions. Like your product could solve things in multiple different industries. And you've told me this on thing, but you're like, but I'm an expert in healthcare, and this is what I want to focus on. Then there's a huge opportunity there. Maybe in the future, I could go into a different industry, but I'm really focused on there. So this doesn't really apply to just doctors or operations center. This applies to any business that is heavy on operations and people and
correct. Yeah. So look, it all comes down to time. There's so much energy, so much time in the day, and if you're a doctor or a surgeon, you could go build technology and deploy it, right? But that takes time away from patient care or other things, or even operating your business, right? And so, we built technology. We used millions of dollars to build the most powerful tech. and we provide it, at a very, low cost entry point, because the way that we scale is by servicing hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of facilities. And so, we have the scale because we spent millions of dollars building the tech, and we're going to service hundreds of facilities, right? And so our technology will continue to get smarter and get better, and we will build the best in class, technology for operating, surgery centers. And so I welcome any physician or surgeon to try and do that, right? But at the same time, they're running their business. Right?
But what are the things that they could fall that they're not really focused on seeing and they can miss? And what are like the dangers of it that can happen? Like, because it's no joke. We're dealing with people's lives, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I think AI in clinical space is dangerous. In the healthcare space, AI being used for clinical decisions, there's a lot of ethical questions around that. For example, if AI analyzes some kind of diagnostic report versus a human, and the conclusion the AI makes versus a human physician, there's a lot of ethical questions around, a lot of, I would say, dangers around clinical decisions, right? And so, are the models getting better? Yes. Are they potentially more accurate than humans? Maybe, right? But the question is not accuracy. It's more like the ethical sort of dangers and guidelines around using AI in healthcare for clinical decisions. So at Sigmatic, we use AI for operational decisions, how to order the lowest cost supplies, how to optimize your block time, how to optimize your scheduling, how to make you more money. We optimize workflows to help you recruit more surgeons, right? And so everything that we do is more focused on the operations and business admin side, because that's where AI is very powerful. It's very accurate, and we've designed it to make critical decisions that consume huge portions of brain power. And so basically we unlock physicians to do more clinical decisions on their own.
So it's really important. Like what I've understood from this, AI is not solving all the problems right now, but there is certain specific problems that AI is really good in. And this is where we need to really deploy it to help our businesses. And some other things that it's still not there and it's dangerous to even think about it.
Correct.
At this moment in time that we're in right now, but we're for sure going to get there. Like there's no doubt about it that we're going to get there on how fast technology is moving.
Yeah, exactly. I was just at a Becker's conference. It's a massive, spine surgery center conference in Chicago just last week. Okay. And first of all, everything there was AI. And every discussion, every panel, had AI, in it. But a lot of the surgeons really talked about the ethical concerns and boundaries of deploying AI on the clinical side. Okay. And it was really refreshing to see that most of the AI deployments that were successful have been on the business operations side, which is something that we predicted years ago. We saw the power of AI coming, and we built and architected our business to support administrative workflows. Yeah. It's not to say that the clinical workflows are not important. Obviously, there are huge implications to streamline healthcare and make healthcare more accessible to patients, millions of patients globally, but that's not the space for us. Yeah. We want to be the best in class on the operation side. And so I think as an entrepreneur, it's really important that you focus. You focus at what you're good at. You focus on your strengths. And then you double down on what works, and you quickly cut out what is dangerous or doesn't work, right? So, for example, if you design a system that has 10 features and 3 of those features work, cut out those 7 features and just double down on making those 3 features the best in class. And that is real entrepreneurship, right?
Love it. When you were building in the beginning, Ehab, were you a little bit delusional on the things that you wanted to solve? And then you're like, okay, I'm going to focus on this. Does it happen that like a founder?
Yeah, I think every founding team goes through that. Okay. And so the way that you sort of de-risk that sort of rabbit hole that you, because you can go build everything, right? And you're going to run out of money, and your team is going to hate you, and your customers are not going to get a lot of value, right? And so you iterate fast, you push it out fast, and you create that feedback loop, right? And it's hard to do, right? Like what I just said conceptually sounds easy, but you have to operationalize it. So
I can't even focus on one business. And I'm not even like, imagine like with AI and everything that you guys are building, and I try to focus, and I'm like,
for us, you know, the way that we've approached it is, again, we focus on a customer channel, which is, you know, first we're going to start in outpatient surgery centers. So we're going to be the best, we're going to be the best AI native operating platform for surgery centers.
What was like the mind map on like reaching that decisions that this is what we're going to focus on? Because I think this is the hardest on like focusing and saying no to other things, especially when you're seeing a lot of people doing different things. A lot of companies are. So what was your
I mean, it's even now it's hard because our technology is so powerful. It can work in hospitals, it can work in nursing homes, and we get approached by customers in different channels, and we have to really think twice. Hey, should we build that extra feature so it can work in a hospital or a nursing home? And we will, but we're just going to phase it out, right? So it's much easier for us as a small team to just build the best in class for a specific, customer channel. And it's hard to say no, right? And I love working with hospitals, but a lot of hospitals take 8 to 18 months, sales cycle, right? And so when you're a venture-backed company and you want to grow fast, it's hard to build a business with an 8 to 18 month sales cycle, right? And so I love independent surgery centers because they make decisions fast. They're easy to work with. They deploy, and you can iterate with them and really scale, quite rapidly if your product works. And so we spent 1.5 years building a product that we know works. We've tested it in our own surgery centers. And it works, and it does wonders for surgeons and for administrators. It alleviates a lot of the administrative burden, running and growing and scaling these businesses. And, that's the product that we're going to continue to improve for, the next maybe 2-3 years. And then, after that, we could expand.
How do you keep reminding yourself, though, to go back and focus? Because it's so hard, especially that you're such an operator and you're such, and I'm sure like AI is making you super, it's a superpower that you have. But how do you stay grounded and you stay focused?
So, look, I met hundreds of entrepreneurs. And again, that goes back to why I encourage people to go to these venture events is you will meet amazing founders. Some of them have built like $1 billion unicorns, right? And some of them are still starting. And so you kind of meet everybody in between, and you just ask them questions. You ask them the same question you just asked me. When I asked that questions to hundreds of founders, what I found is that focus is so critical. It's really hard. It's one of the hardest things you're gonna do as an entrepreneur is really focus. And really the ones that double down on their strengths are the ones that went really far. And I asked,
talking about this.
Yeah, I asked the founder, Amir Hussein, actually, he's based here in Austin. He built a $1 billion unicorn. I asked Amir, what were some of the biggest challenges? He built a $1 billion company. And he said to me that as you raise more and more capital, it becomes much harder to build a product that is tied to your customer, because now every round that you raise, you have now more stakeholders to cater to, right? And so he advised me, to really focus on the customer. And I took that to heart, right? Because so like a lot of times when you build such a massive company and you reach, let's say, $1 billion, every round, basically you have a new board member. You have, and the way he explained it to me is like multiple rounds, he had to hire somebody's cousin because, there was, related to that investor. And so basically you now have this complex web of stakeholders, and those stakeholders' interests, whether it's the investors and their LPs, are kind of disconnected from your business in the sense that, your core business should be focused on the customer and really providing more and more value for the customer. And so he told me one of the biggest challenges is that, a lot of times the business sort of morphs into something that you didn't plan it to be, right? And so his amazing piece of advice was to really just focus on the customer. And that's how I designed the company, early stage. And really, I really want to stay, no matter how much capital we raise or how far we go, I really want to stay focused on the customer and be really innovative.
So my last question I have, while you're growing this massive company and it's going to keep scaling, how do you think you're going to stay connected with the doctors and the people that really matter while you're raising all this money and you just mentioned how there's different levels on when venture and raising more money and there's these different politics. How are you going to stay focused on the doctors, and because this is a promise to them, right? Yeah. So what do you think would be your how would you stay committed to this?
Well, we designed a company that really embodies empowering surgeons. And so for us, kind of the North Star and the vision and the goal of the company is to empower physicians and surgeons really to own more of the value chain and to take more control, of their business, right? And to unlock their mental, capacity so that they can do more clinical work, which is really a lot of them, again, go into becoming a doctor because they care about patients. They want to provide, better access to care and high quality product. And so that's our North Star. And, we, even from day one, when we conceptualized and built the company, we brought in a chief medical officer. So he's a partner with us in the company from day one. So it was very important for me to have surgeons, as partners from day one. A lot of our early investors are surgeons. And so we meet with them regularly. A lot of my advisors are surgeons, right? So I spent about a year, recruiting some of the most amazing advisors, surgeons that have built and exited and scaled surgery centers, orthopedic surgeons that till this day, they travel the world and teach other surgeons how to build surgery centers. And so these are, advisors, but they also own equity in our company and they have a voice in our company. And so from day one, we built the company to be international. From day one, we built the company to have very strong voice of the physician and the customers that we're serving. And I think each round, we need to continue on that path, right? And so that we keep following towards our North Star, make the product even better and better.
Honestly, you saying this, it makes me optimistic for the future of AI, right? But not everyone has such a good heart and has that core of keeping their promise and really building to solve a real problem and empowering people. And it's funny because you're building a VC or an accelerator that we're going to talk about called Empower, and it's really the core of everything you want to do. So when you say I really want to empower physicians, because I know you on a deeper level, I believe you, and I know it's not just you're not trying to pitch me. I don't have a surgery center, but you're not trying to pitch me, to buy your product or to buy your service. So I really believe you that you say that. And I really I feel like there needs to be laws that people need to operate their AI companies the way that you were operating, and having domain experts in every company and advisors at a certain percentage. It has I feel can you talk to me a little bit about where do you think, because you don't listen, you don't listen, there's not enough people talking about that part right here, right? Because this is where it gets dangerous in AI.
Youssef, you're so brilliant. You're spot on. It's really important as an entrepreneur that you design a cap table, or basically a cap table is who are the stakeholders that own equity in your company. It's really important in all stages of the company that you design a cap table that reflects the company that you want to build. And so what that means is most startup founders will go out, create a C Corp. They'll issue 10 million shares and they'll start giving out shares, right? And so the way that we architected our cap table, first of all, it's designed where, you know, my founders and my co-founders, we own a big chunk of the company early stage, but we also brought in, like I said, physician partners, and they own, you know, equity in the company from day one. And we know as we, you know, raise more and more capital, every single round, you're going to get roughly, as an entrepreneur, about 18 to 20% dilution. So we're in a pre-seed round. Next round will be our seed round, and then we'll raise a Series A, Series B, and C. And so each series round, you're going to get roughly about an 18 to 20% dilution. And so the name of the game, I called it a venture game. I'm going to circle back on that, is that you want to maintain as much, not necessarily control, but you want to maintain as much basically innovation as you can in the company as you raise more and more capital. Because remember, we said when you raise more capital from other stakeholders, the DNA of the company is at risk of changing. And so, you know, when you build your cap table, you have to kind of work backwards, right? So if you know as a founder that you're the type of founder that is super innovative, but it's really hard for you to manage like a 300 person organization, you might want to sort of exit at a specific stage. And so you kind of mentally have to know who you are as an entrepreneur.
Self-awareness is really hard these days.
Yeah, and work backwards. Yeah. And you have to model it out and have a plan and say, how are you going to get to that before you exit, right? Some entrepreneurs build to an exit. I'm more of a mission-oriented entrepreneur. And so I'm like, although I'm working really hard for a massive, you know, $1 billion plus exit, I'm really laser focused on building the best in class company and going as far as I can and retaining as much equity with every single round. And the way that you do that is building an amazing product that sells itself. And then you're not as much stressed to raise more and more capital. You can really, you know, build a business that is highly scalable.
So to end, and this was going to be my follow-up question. It's like, I don't want to see 10 years because technology is advancing so fast. I would say in the next like 3 to 5 years, you know, or maybe 5 years. What would be like, Ehab is like, okay, my mission is complete. And this is like, where do you want to take healthcare? You know?
I really want to push the industry forward. It's so archaic. It's, you know, there's no reason that, you know, administrators and humans should be typing on legacy systems, and all those systems are not talking to each other.
That's one of the biggest problems.
Huge. It's a big enough problem for us to solve as a company, and there's going to be a lot other companies that should jump in and solve other problems in healthcare, but that's really the area that we're laser focused on.
Love it. Ehab, we're going to have multiple other episodes that we need to talk about, because we need to talk about more about like literally immigrant families and really focus on this. And I think this is going to be the core of our brand, is immigrant families, healthcare and operators, business failures, venture, AI. You know, like there's so many subjects that we want to talk about, and we want to empower a lot of the youth. And I know this is the same mission that you have and the boys that we have here. So this is not really, I'm not really going to close the episode. We're going to have multiple different episodes, and this is one of many.
I'm excited for it.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited for this journey. I'm excited to see you grow. I'm excited to see Sigmatic grow. I'm excited to see the impact that you're going to have on the healthcare system. And the impact that you're going to have on immigrants in general, and people and the innovation, and just bringing everyone together, like you said in the beginning of the episode. If there's anything you want to say, Ehab, you know, to the young Egyptians, young founders, anything you want to say, and this.
The only thing I'll wrap up and say is that, look, it is the best time in human history to build a company. And so if you're thinking about an idea, you know, build it, iterate on it, get it out in the hands of customers, and don't be afraid to fail, especially if you're young. You know, you succeed through failures, right? And so that's been the story of my life. That's the story of all successful entrepreneurs.
I didn't know that big drop you had in your life. You've never it was really interesting to hear today. It actually really like hit me hard. Like I had shivers like when you said that story. That was crazy.
It was really painful, right? And so, but that's what allowed me to build Sigmatic.
And that's a lot of where people find like that massive problem or that massive issue is what, exactly. That comes after success. So there's a way bigger lesson here that for people to take and for you to take your time. And I feel this is something else we're going to talk about. Like people feel like time is just like flying, and it's not. You've been in it for 15 years and now it's becoming more fruitful, I would say,
Yeah, and I got in and I learned the venture game, right? And so a lot of times, if you really want to play the venture game, you gotta learn it, right? And then to your point, it takes time.
Yeah,
you gotta really let time, teach you important lessons to build a really successful, scalable business.
Love it. Thank you so much, Ehab, for this beautiful conversation. Thank you for hosting me in Austin, Texas, and for the boys as well.
Youssef, thank you for coming. I'm so happy that you chose Austin. Of all the amazing cities in the US, that you came to Austin. You're such a talented voice for the Middle East and for Africa, and we're so fortunate to have you. So
appreciate you, man. Appreciate everything, guys. And hopefully, we'll see you. You guys will see us in the next episodes. We'll be sharing a lot more. There's a lot more that we're gonna discuss and announce very soon. So stay tuned, guys. Follow Ehab. He's a celebrity on LinkedIn. He's gonna be a celebrity on Instagram. He's gonna be the coolest on Instagram and social media. So he's gonna be dropping a lot of value.
Just want to follow your footsteps.
With your network here, man, we're gonna do some pretty cool things. That's it, guys. Thank you so much. That's it. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
Appreciate it.
That's it.